Disclaimer, this review is based on my subjective experience as an adult with ADHD and not intended to speak for others in the neurodivergent community. First off, this is one of the most satisfying games I've played in quite a while. The pure fun reminds me of playing through games like Ratchet and Clank: Rift Apart and Super Mario Odyssey. Regardless of this review's subjective focus on ADHD compatibility, Astro is a fantastic and enjoyable game that I highly recommend for pretty much any level of gamer. That said, there were a couple options missing, which I found odd, but this did not take away from the overall incredible experience. ADHD compatibility grade. I gave Astro for PlayStation 5 a grade of S. The analysis. Did it keep my attention? I played this beginning to end and got the Platinum Trophy. Enough said. Game length. Feels just right. I guess I spent 10 to 11 hours finishing the main game and finished everything possible at 19 hours, including recordings for this review. If there was too much more, I could see a feeling of boredom or burnout settling in. Minimum play session time. Less than 15 minutes. You can start and complete a regular level in 5 to 6 minutes. User interface. Simple and easy to read. No complications, no complaints. Gameplay and controls. The gameplay and platforming controls are spot on, consistent, and exactly what you'd expect. There are also multiple instances for the gyro controls that work great and are intuitive. My only complaint was the lack of controller options related to horizontal turn speed on the right stick, but I will address that in bonuses and deductions. Introduction, tutorial, learning curve. Pretty standard platformer, quick and easy to pick up. There are non-intrusive visual-based tutorial windows that pop up for special items and powers. Fun factor. Simply, this game is a joy. The aesthetic is great, and Astro feels like a much better fit than Sackboy for a mascot. Difficulty. Pretty standard. Overall, a bit easy with some more challenging sections and bosses throughout. Hunting for secrets can be challenging at times, but not impossible with the help of an optional helpful item. The optional and short challenge levels can range from done on the first try to I renounce the existence of good in the universe. Difficulty. Subjectively, the difficulty balance is good, but could use some tweaking that may perfect the game. Visuals. This game is beautiful. There is quite a bit going on, but it is not presented in any way to be overwhelming or confusing. In fact, the vast amount of loose and piled objects on screen that Astro can spin around in and scatter can be very satisfying. Sound effects. The quality of the sound effects cannot be appreciated by my amateur recordings. Most of the sound effects are produced through the controller in combination with the haptics and are perfect. Depending on your level of sensitivity, you may have to adjust the controller speaker volume, but I did not find any sounds to be annoying or overwhelming. Soundtrack. It's really pretty good and perfectly fitting for the game. The soundtrack is catchy and adds joy to the game, but I'm not going to be playing it in my spare time. Story. The story is a typical cartoony mascot versus a generic villain with no real lore. The story and characters are just a backdrop for the technical experience, though the inclusion of the PlayStation's hardware legacy was a nice touch. Performance. Ran perfect. Never experienced a bug or concern. Bonuses and deductions. Deductions. Lack of controller and sound options. There are no volume sliders for music and sound effects, which I almost always adjust in a game, but not that big a deal this time. What I found was a big deal was the lack of options for the controller, specifically to change the speed of the horizontal camera swing on the right stick. The only thing that truly annoyed me over and over was how slow the camera swung horizontally. Bonus, collectibles and optional levels. There is a lot of extra stuff to do, and then I wanted to do everything. It was not a chore. The nostalgia factor didn't hurt either. Bonus, haptics. The haptics are subtle and add to the enjoyment of the game. An example, light haptic feedback of raindrops combined with the rain sound effects. Outside of some missing options, I feel Astrobot hits all the right buttons when considering an ADHD perspective. You can turn on and play a level in just a few minutes. If you've been away from the game, there are no odd mechanics to relearn or convoluted story to catch up on. It's fun, and the sounds, visuals, and haptics are a sensory delight. I would have preferred a bit more difficulty in the required levels, but the challenge was pretty standard, and the special levels made up for that hunger for a bigger challenge. Astrobot was a great experience I highly recommend, and I am looking forward to the upcoming DLC with speedruns. If you are interested in seeing more of my playthrough of Astrobot, I have uploaded a few of the more challenging sections, but be aware, these videos contain spoilers.